Swear I won't forget this, why do I regret this? In my mind reckless, thoughts are feeling endless. Sitting up I'm breathless, anxiety's infectious. I feel so defenseless, betrayed and embarrassed. I hate being open, I hate being broken. I feel like an ocean filled up with emotion. Anger ain't a potion, rub it on like lotion. I can feel it soaking, reopen, the scars have awoken. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go.
Cousins, Anthony Jones here with Brigade Boats, and we're going to take this 14-foot John boat and turn it from bone stock to pure rock with a complete rebuild. But not just any rebuild, as the original owner of this boat passed away in a tragic work-related accident. His surviving best friend brought us the boat to turn into a one-of-a-kind fishing machine in his memory. So stick around, we're going to show you how we built this boat step by step in this video.
The boat is a White River 1436, and this project is dedicated to the memory of the original owner. I was initially approached about this project in June of last year, and once told the meaning behind it, I knew it was something that I wanted to do. I live in Georgia, and that's where my builds, my business, and my channel is based out of. This boat and the owner are from Ohio, and the original plan was to deliver the boat to Georgia. But as the build date approached, my good friend Nate and I got this wild idea to do a collaborative build at his place, Tiny Boat Nation Outdoors in Illinois.
Because I'm a boss.
In late February 2022, I said goodbye to the wife and kids, packed my bags and tools, and the unicorn pillow my daughter gave me, and drove almost 12 hours north. The plan was to stay in Nate's basement and work nonstop at the shop until the boat was finished. The kicker, this boat was built in just 8 days. I couldn't have done it without Nate, his staff, and TB Nation Outdoors support. As I continue my own personal journey on this channel, it's become more and more evident that I have awesome friends and companies I work with that make projects like this possible. The goal of the build was to deck out the front, enclose the rear, add plenty of storage, a built-in fish cooler, all new electronics, lithium batteries, Hydroturf, everything, and add enough LEDs to turn the lake into a landing strip.
On a spaceship, outer space.
The customer plans to fish for crappie out of this boat with trolling motor only in small ponds and lakes. I'm going to leave a full parts list in the video description of everything we used in this build. Of course, there were custom parts we fabricated, but a majority of the parts can be purchased online. If you use code BRIGADE at checkout on tbnation.net, save 5% off your order. It doesn't matter if it's $5 or $5,000, use code BRIGADE and save 5%. And lastly, don't forget to stick around until the end of the video to see the customer's reaction when he picks up his completely overhauled 1436.
That's just amazing.
The boat traveled 5 hours from Ohio to Illinois on a brand new trailer that the owner purchased before the build. We got to work on laying out the framing. For this build, we used 1x2 1/16 aluminum tube. We first laid out where the cooler would go, and then we mocked up our framing around that. We kept in mind where we would put hatches in the front and back decks, and also allowed proper spacing for seat bases. Once we were happy with the design, we removed all the framing parts and grouped them together to the side accordingly. The framing mock design also allowed us to mark out where the storage compartments would go and the back bench. With everything marked out, it was now time to cut and gut. We started with the subfloor. The boat's factory ribs created some issues. They were under an inch and rounded. Mounting thin sheet aluminum to the factory ribs would prove difficult, so we bypassed them altogether with our design. I scuffed and cleaned the hole really well, and then I used construction adhesive to glue 1-inch aluminum tube spacers on each side of the ribs. I backfilled the voids with 1-inch closed-cell foam insulation board. This created a raised, supportive, solid surface to sheet aluminum over. Gluing the subfloor down is definitely outside of the box. It's not something I would do on a standalone floor build, but in this case, the glue holds the floor system down while everything above it can be welded in place, forcing and locking the floor system down. The floor's real strength comes in later when the vertical framing supports and cockpit walls go in. At that point, the subfloor will essentially be sandwiched in place, jam up jelly tight. We cut and fit the aluminum sheet flooring. Because of the solid foam and aluminum tube subfloor, we were able to use thinner sheet aluminum here to save weight. The gauge is 0.60. We notched the sheet around the ribs and trim where necessary to get a tight fit. Once satisfied with the fitment, we began attaching the sheet aluminum. Because the factory ribs were small and rounded, we opted to rivet everything down to our tube framing inserts we previously installed. We used 3/16-inch countersink rivets, a drill with a countersink bit, and of course the Milwaukee M12 battery-powered rivet gun. I don't leave home without it. With the floor system now 100%, the boat was ready for framing. For this build, we would use 1x2 aluminum tube for all welded framing. With framing in, it was time to mount the cooler. We'd use one of Nate's custom Livewell tubs for the cooler, which I'd trimmed to fit. I added ample foam underneath the cooler and left room for the drain line. For that, I used all Flow-Rite quick lock fittings and hose. Then we permanently mounted the cooler to the framing with rivets. Vertical uprights were welded into the front framing, and I started work on the cockpit walls. One of the specific details I wanted in this build would happen here: a recessed control panel in the cockpit wall. I'd start the panel by bending it on a brake. Then, with detailed measurements of the electronics going in, I'd cut the panel out in preparation for the recess. I then bent the recess tray on the brake, and it was welded to the backside of the panel. And now, with the recess panel all together as one part, I cut out the inside of the recess, making sure to leave a lip for the control panel to mount up to later on. I would custom fab this control panel, but more on that later in the video. With the cockpit walls done, we installed them in the boat. It was a tight fit. We created the walls with a flange that would rivet down to the floor. The top of the walls locked in behind our tube framing and was stitch welded into place. The framing, walls, and uprights and floor were now all one piece within the boat. The back bench storage boxes came back from fabrication. We custom built these to the specifications of this project, and they were installed the same way we installed the cooler. A cousin stopped by to lend a helping hand, and we began rough wiring leads for all of the electronics. With the back storage boxes in, we mounted the back lids and drilled the latch holes. We also mounted up the front cooler lid as well as the rear seat base. Then we focused our attention on the cockpit. A subtle detail we added to the cockpit was the custom bent angle cap that we put around the surround. This gives a professional look and eliminates any sharp edges. It was riveted and welded into place, and this is one of the first boats that we've experimented with this material in, and I really like the look. We built an overhang around the cockpit walls. This would be for the hidden LED lighting later on, but I personally like the depth and detail that this gives the cockpit from a design standpoint. We were halfway home, but before I could turn my attention to anything else in the boat, it was time to focus on the all-elusive custom control panel. I consider my control panels and my builds to be one of my signatures. I wanted this one to be one of my best ones yet. I mocked all the equipment in advance when I built the cockpit recess tray wall, so this was just a means of spacing the electronics evenly, cutting holes and notches where needed, and then pre-drilling all of the mounting point holes. This panel was measured and cut by hand, not by computer and laser. After cleaning up and sanding, it was off to powder coat. From there, we worked as a team to start chipping away at what was left to be done on the boat. The back decking was installed, and all the accessories began to be final wired in. I got the subfloor under the front deck completely hydroturfed, and at about this time, the control panel came back from fresh powder coat.
So it takes you 17 hours to cut a dang panel out, and I powder coated it 45 minutes.
And while Nate exaggerated a bit on how long it took to build a panel, he didn't exaggerate on how fast it came back from powder coat.
Because I'm a boss.
More aluminum decking went down. This is 090 sheet aluminum, which planes perfectly with Nate's dry hatch lids. I have a step-by-step tutorial on my channel of how I do aluminum decking, so be sure to check that out if further interested. We had to cut and drill new countersink holes in our front seat bases. We modified them to create a smaller footprint and allow better fitment for the front deck hatches. We started to work on another new idea, an elevated cell phone charging station that would go underneath the front deck. Nate cut the shape out of aluminum and bent it on the brake in no time. Some paint, turf, and a USB port were added, and then it was installed. Another nice detailed addition to this project. I mounted the nav and rear pole light on some storage clips underneath the deck. Then I got to work on installing the drain lines for all of the anti-flood hatches, watersheds from the deck to the hatch tracks to the tubes, which are strategically placed to the subfloor and into a factory drain channel. From there, it can go to the back of the boat and bilge out. Next up, finalizing the decking. The Magic Man Nate had an idea and got to work creating a custom mounting bracket for the Royz shallow water anchor we will be installing on the boat. Meanwhile, in the back of the boat, I got to work installing a new bilge pump, hose, and through hole fitting. It was wired in and came out really clean. Then I added a bit of detail to the transom corner braces by covering them in gator skins. It's an anti-skid material. I then wired in the rear pole light and mounted it in place. Next, we installed Hydroturf on the front deck. For those not familiar, Hydroturf is the name brand, but EVA foam is the material. This turf's color is swamp camo, cut with gray teak lines. Having line turf means it needs to be installed center and run straight throughout the boat, even taking the turf lines and where they fall on hatch lids into consideration. There's a lot of thought and care put into our Hydroturf sheet installs to give professional results. I installed new U-bolts through the transom in preparation for ratchet transom straps that we would add to the trailer. Nate's beautiful black pearl came back from powder coat, aka the Royz shallow water anchor bracket he custom built specifically for this build. Often imitated, but never duplicated, Nate's aluminum parts have been copied more than once, but you've seen this one here first. Time to mount the trolling motor. The customer went with a hand-controlled 24-volt, 70-pound thrust Motor Guide X3. It was mounted on one of TB Nation Outdoors trolling motor brackets. A trick we like to do is use a flow-right through-hole fitting to route our cables through the deck. This protects and gives a cleaner look. To add to the electronics package up front, a Garmin 93SV was rigged up on a RAM mount. Nate made custom battery trays and battery tie downs. We are running lithium batteries from Amped Outdoors, and these things are feather light. We are running a 24-volt for the trolling motor and a 12-volt for all other electronics. We got started installing two 12-foot sets of Plashlight LED strip lights on the exterior of the boat. The customer specifically wanted a set of white and green for bait fish and night fishing. Now, these are the nicest LEDs I've seen to date, and I highly recommend checking them out. They're available on tbnation.net. We filmed the Plashlight LED installation in great detail, and I'll have a step-by-step install and demo video coming soon on my channel, so keep an eye out for that. With all the accessories finally in the boat, it was time for me to do the final wiring. For this build, I implemented the fuse box into the switch panel along with a battery kill switch and a USB voltmeter. All the wiring is by Anchor Marine. Final wiring is one of my favorite things to do, and I take pride in a clean and tidy wiring install because I feel the wiring is a visual representation of the quality level of the rest of the boat build. Next up, Nate turfed the rear deck, and I began removing all the factory decals from the exterior of the boat. I then measured and laid out where all the new decals and registration numbers would go before installing them. These decals were printed by my boy, Kerry Kane at 400 Inc. in awesome Dawsonville, Georgia, and shipped to us for this project. At some point burning the midnight oil, we painted the factory motor mount and added an aluminum cap. We also installed the Royz shallow water anchor. If you're curious how this anchor works, check out the video on my channel linked above where I do a full install and on the water demonstration. We made some adjustments and additions to the trailer. We moved the bottom bunks about 6 inches forward and bolted on some boat buckle retractable transom tie-down straps. I also added the drain tubes for the two backbench storage compartment lids. All of the Whitcap Locking latches were now in place, and a final piece to the cooler came back from fabrication. A removable tray that locks into the cooler. But not just any tray, as this one was built to the specs of a 12-pack of cans. The customer can keep his drinks and food cold and isolated from the mess of fish in the bottom of the cooler. The cooler within the cooler is definitely one of my favorite parts of this build. Another hot off the press part we use for this boat is the trolling motor caddy. You'll find a cup holder, notches for tools or pliers, and holes for hanging lures. I hate to sound like an infomercial here, guys, but these are also a TB Nation exclusive part. After the long drive, the long days, many hours of labor, many hands involved, a lot of dollars, and a lot of parts, there was but one piece of the puzzle left to be placed. I saved this part for last by design. It represented why we were here and who we were honoring with this build. We hope you like what you see, Tim, and we hope you're proud of what your little tin can became.
Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headaches stack. Restlessness to hell and back. What's my purpose? What do I grab? A slippery surface, a heart attack. And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you relief. There's something that'll have what you need, what you need. We're broken, it's tragic, we're not all elastic, but maybe there's magic, believe you could have it. And I know of sadness, the anxious and panic, the infinite vastness of all that is blackness.
With the boat now complete, there was only one thing left to do: unveil it to the customer.
Ooh, sweet. Putting crappie fishing in style, baby. There we go. Tell me, boy. Tell me, boy. That's awesome, dude. Oh my God.
You got
That's awesome. That's just amazing.
More like a fast boat than a John boat.
Oh, he did the Tiny Boat Nation. That's so cool. God, that is unbelievable, man. You see it, you're like, it's just unbelievable. It's like a little mini bass boat, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Just seeing it, it's like, wow.
If you want to kill the lights.
Oh yeah. Let there be light.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Here's
God.
your green.
That's cool. Stage 2.
Oh my God, that's so awesome, dude. I mean, it turned out the lights just like I hoped. We do a lot of night fishing. It's just going to be killing me, I'm telling you, dude, you couldn't buy a factory boat as nice as this, in my opinion. The boat is absolutely unbelievable. It exceeds my wildest expectations. I knew it was going to be cool, but nothing like this. I absolutely love it. I think Tim would love it. So Tim Adkins, very good friend of mine, tragically was killed on the job almost 2 years ago. Tim bought this boat about 2.5 years ago, plain Jane aluminum boat. His wife called me, Kathy, asked me how much she should sell this little boat for. I said, Kathy, I want the boat. I seen your videos online, Anthony Jones, and I was just thinking that would be totally awesome to just do a boat build with the boat that I got off of Tim. So I contacted him, reached out through Messenger. He responded back, I'm in Ohio. I didn't know if he would do it. He did. And we are here 7-8 months later. Absolutely awesome. And I think Tim would love it. I miss him greatly. Film that guy real quick.
Tim was a good soul. He was a good man. Tim was a fantastic person. I mean, he would give you the shirt off his back. You couldn't ask for a better friend. When we're fishing in this boat, Tim will be fishing with us.
Oh yeah.
And so, but yeah, we appreciate all the work, all the hard work, the quality work that you put into this boat. We will use it well.
I won't soon forget this trip and project. Big thanks to Nate and his staff and everyone at TB Nation Outdoors and the Tin Can crew. From collabing on this build to let me ride that basement couch, thanks Nate, you're a boss. Thanks to my wife for holding down the fort and supporting me on this journey. Thank you, Shawn, for trusting us with something that meant so much. It was truly an honor to build this boat in the memory of Tim. And thanks for watching. Without you, the viewer, none of this will be possible. More builds to come. I'll catch you on the next one.
See you, buddy. Well, on to the next one, cousins. Nate, you ready to build another boat?
Oh yeah, I'm a boss.
Boss.